from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today I'm very pleased joining me, Corey Hart. Corey, thank you very much for being here with me today. The way I love to do it is I keep it to my guests to introduce themselves, tell us a bit more about, your background, your journey, what you're currently up to. But, just as a teaser for the audience, and maybe they can see if you're watching this on YouTube, you are Senior Director of Growth at Mentavi Health. So we're going to talk a lot about, mental health and, how we can use tech in this and other topics, of course. But yeah, without further ado, I would leave the scene to you, Corey. So thank you for being on the show.
Great. Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, Corey Hart over here. I'm based in the Midwest of the United States, more specifically Michigan, and that's where Mentavi Health, ADHD Online are headquartered. I'm currently working as their Senior Director of Growth, which is very exciting. Things are happening super fast in the healthcare sector here in the United States, specifically around marketing. What we can and cannot do, regulatory affairs, compliance, very, very big hot topics right now. Because over here, we've got 50 states and 50 different laws around what you can and cannot do within marketing. And now, just even the last month, since our most recent legislation out of Washington, states are starting to legislate and regulate AI individually, state by state. So we have a lot to track, and how that also developed, syncs with how you even make product, right? I also operate the Grand Rapids, Michigan chapter of Startup Grind, and I was named Global Chapter Director of the Year in 2021. Huge, beautiful network. I'm just a startup and innovation junkie, probably like you, Mehmet. We just can't get enough of people that are out there getting their hands dirty, solving problems, no matter, whatever they are. I'm always so excited to learn about problems I have no idea even existed. And I also teach Business 101 at a local university. So I'm teaching first-year students at university and all things about, business, and really leaning in on soft skills, because everyone's really kind of worried about uncertainty and are there going to be jobs when I graduate? Should I even be sitting here in university right now? So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Great. Thank you so much again, Corey. Yeah, you just, took a lot of questions that were on my mind and you put that, in the intro. We're going to uncover that. Just one point, which, when I was preparing, so I know you've led a public sector initiative, and an 800% growth telehealth startup also. And now, with what you're doing with Mentavi Health, what attracted you to this domain, Corey? It seems like a pattern to me, and I'm always curious, not as a host of the podcast, as you said, yeah, I like to uncover things. I know it's an important topic, but there must be something specific that, it led your paths to cross with health, telehealth, and mental health in specific.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's kind of it's a marriage of purpose and curiosity. I had the benefit of a 25-year career in entertainment. I was, an entrepreneur at 16. I had a really great example from my father. I started DJing nightclubs, parties, festivals, a lot of travel. I've lived a whole life of just hedonism and me. So a little bit of soul searching. I kind of wanted to show up for others in a different way rather than just throw parties. And luckily, the innovation junkie in me gave me the opportunity to just start to say, yes, how can I help entrepreneurs, individuals, companies? And then I got known for really being able to tackle hard things and known for like running towards the fire. And I just love dumpster fires. I love operational challenges. I love super hard things. I love it when people say, no, you can't do that. That can never be done. So a lot of these opportunities find me. You mentioned the public sector project I was on. I had a friend reach out and say, hey, I need you in New York in a couple of days. We just got this contract with the city and state of New York. We're going to be helping the asylum seeker influx into the state, which was numbering thousands a day. And we got to figure out a way to house them and surround them with public services, get the kids in school, find them, housing, obviously, healthcare, legal services and support, feed them. That was incredible. Started with a team of like 6 people, grew to over 1,000. It was wild. Learned a lot. That was a year full of impact. Previous to that, I worked in a startup, and we, like you said, we scaled it 800%. That's starting from one behavioral health clinician to over 80, one state to 8 states in the United States, and those experiences led me to Mentavi Health, and it's the marriage of curiosity and purpose that I think thread the needle there for me.
Great. What an inspiring. You said something which is, I was telling someone the other day, like I have this in me and it's a junkie as you describe it. Like, whenever I go to a place, even everything looks fine, perfect, I just ask, can it be done better? Or why you do it this way? Have you tried to do? Yeah, so it's something I think, it comes from curiosity. It comes from, the aim always to do something in a better way. Now, let's talk a little bit about Mentavi Health, Corey. What it does, and what's the core of it? What are the benefits that people get out of it? And then again, I'd like dive a little bit more into the tech part of it also as well.
Sure, yeah. Mentavi Health was born as ADHD Online just a few years ago. Just like a lot of startups, the founder is super close to the problem, needed an ADHD diagnosis for a family member, and was having a really difficult time getting that taken care of because the wait lists are incredibly long. The expense is incredibly large for most folks. It's a global problem, the provider shortage that we have of whether it's master's level, therapists, clinicians, social workers, or PhD level psychologists, psychiatrists, even doctors that are willing to prescribe and take care of or do the medication management for some conditions, specifically like ADHD. What the biggest innovation that Mentavi has is that we have decoupled the diagnosis from the treatment. So rather than go into treatment, get on those wait lists, you might be in treatment for some period of time, or you might find a provider that does a diagnosis service for, say, ADHD over the course of a few visits and maybe $4,000. We've said, hey, why don't we do the diagnosis first? Let's do it asynchronously. Run through as a patient through the assessment online, all by yourself, self-led, start and stop as you need, come back to it, hit submit. And once you do that is forwarded to one of our clinicians, and our PhD level provider will evaluate that assessment and surface a diagnosis or diagnoses with comorbidities. We see that specifically with like ADHD, a lot of other comorbidities like sleep disorder or OCD, anxiety, depression. And this then gives us a diagnosis within 2 to 5 days rather than waiting weeks or months. Also, retail is $189 out the door, so it's less than $200 versus thousands. So it really reduces the barrier of access to care and provides the kinds of certainty and awareness that people are really craving. That's the big innovation that we had. And then in the following years, started to add other services as well that include coaching. So that's like subclinical. You kind of try to want to meet people where they're at. And then they might not be ready for a serious intervention like a therapy, but we offer therapy, teletherapy as well, and medication management. So we do use telehealth to prescribe class 2 drugs. And we do it in a very, very ethical, highest standard as possible. So we get to show up before a lot of people. We just celebrated our 200,000th diagnostic evaluation. So that's a lot of patients to serve in just a few years, and over 500,000 combined patient interactions.
Cool. Now you mentioned about the need for this service, of course, and you said the founders were close to the problem. We know for a fact, like, we talk now about pre-COVID, post-COVID, right? And there's a fact, and there's a lot of studies that shows that first telehealth, it literally exploded post-COVID. The other thing is, mental health. So the COVID gave people this, I would say, the moment to reflect and figure out actually that, hey, like, I have a mental health problem, and they started to learn that mental health is not, you're not a, you're not sick in the sense of a physically sick and you need to see a doctor, rather than it's something that needs therapy. How much, have you seen this really trend of people more and more who want to also discover, like, do I have ADHD? Like, do I have, some other issues related to my mental health? So how this kind of became, I'm not sure if it's the right term to use, but kind of a like tailwind, right? That is pushing also the innovation in this space, and of course, providers like Mentavi Health to be existing in this space.
Yeah, that's a good question. And there's a lot there. The normalization of these topics, the increased ability for people to be comfortable, to even be open to the self-awareness that something might be an issue. Then also, let's say, employers embracing the whole picture of someone and who they are, how to support them through their employer assistance programs, or then also family members being able to be a little more comfortable and offer grace to one another. That certainly did come, that normalization was accelerated through the pandemic, and that was, of course, supported by the relaxing or the changing of some rules around what can and cannot be done with telehealth. And those rules are still yet to be made permanent. For telehealth specifically, around prescribing drugs and so on. We're really looking forward to, in the U.S. here, legislation actually being finalized so that we can codify this and just make it a standard. Outside of prescribing medication, telehealth has been around since the 70s, and the efficacy has been proven since then. That was, basically just, on the phone. Doing it like we are here, via like a video connection is fantastic. It really allows folks to create the time, the availability, show up in, say, a comfortable environment, a lot of different factors. I was a part of a really fun roundtable during the pandemic, the early maybe months, like 6 months in of our lockdowns here in the US. And it was with Kaiser Permanente. They put it on. The rate of adoption of telehealth in just those first months was staggering and really, really exciting at the same time. And this is not just with like behavioral healthcare. This is across all different kinds of disciplines. We saw the level of adoption just increase like hundreds and hundreds of fold. People that, providers that would say, no, this simply cannot work. I cannot help anyone with their skin. I can't help people with their feet. I can't help people with their eyes, over telehealth. That is just silly. It's amazing what we as humans, when we're faced with, an adversity, like say that pandemic and the limitations that it presented for being in person. And then we have this technology, the adoption just almost night and day. Those same folks that previously were like, no, this is impossible. All of a sudden, even overnight, we're like, okay, I gave it a try. And not only does it work for my patients, but it works for me too. My own balance, lifestyle, and being able to show up for myself. So that was pretty incredible. But that permission that you're talking about, the self-awareness and the normalization of the topic, I think that's not even just in the U.S. That's somewhat global. We do see, different cultures have different kinds of sensitivity, specifically around behavioral healthcare, and even in those regions, things have moved. It's moved a little bit.
Yeah, it did indeed. You would ask me, how do I understand from the number of clinics that really literally started to pop out. I can speak about Dubai, at least, where the place where I live. Um, it wasn't like taboo or something bad to mention, like, I need like to visit a mental health center, but people used to hide this. And when the pandemic came and everyone was talking about, yeah, we locked at our homes. We had, the challenge of, understand what's in the future, especially like jobs were like cut by some companies. Will I stay in my job? So this anxiety and anxiety, sorry, and all these other things. So people started to tell first their close family, then their colleagues, then everyone else, and then yeah, it became something acceptable, and nothing wrong again with it. I remember in 2023, I had to visit a mental health center because I felt I have something wrong. And I needed to get my focus back. I thought I had ADHD. They said maybe they couldn't diagnose me. But anyway, so of course, like the pandemic pushed that on a global level. That's 100% true, Corey. Now, when we talk about growth, and especially with something related in general to healthcare, and something more specific, which is special kind of requirements when we talk about growing a company in that space. So what is the product philosophy behind it, like, and the messaging that you need to utilize, so you make sure that you're talking to the right people, you're talking also the right language. So what kind of philosophy, I'm calling it philosophy because I think it's like a philosophy to put that, especially in something very specific like mental health?
Yeah, well, for healthcare here in the U.S., marketing is a little challenging because there are some limitations of what you can and cannot do. Uh, we have guidelines like high tech and HIPAA, and there's no shortage of healthcare organizations, small and large, in the news, because they're facing class action suits, or they're facing suits from states and governments, um, all around privacy and trying to protect folks, and which is really important. It can't just be the wild west out there. We have to be ethical in how we go about doing our business, and that is trying to get people through the front door, taking care of the patients that are in our care, and then also engaging with other partners, so other businesses, whether it's other healthcare organizations or say schools or employers, different kinds of community groups. Each one of these populations requires a different set of rules, guidelines, boundaries, and then messaging is like what you're talking about. And right now, 2025, man, I tell you, the landscape it feels completely different in August than it did in July. And July was completely different than it was in February. The benefits that we have now, the technology is so much better to enrich the data that we're getting, not necessarily in a way that is like hacking marketing, but it's in a way to show up for the individual in the way that the individual needs. And that is basically like the essence of really great care in the first place. Every person is different and deserves a different kind of approach and a different kind of messaging and a different kind of, they're ready for care in different moments, or to even be engaged in the discussion. When we're able to personalize this on the individual level, that helps us show up for more people in a better way, and get them the care that they need. So I'm interested in doing whatever we can in that light. And so that's using AI tools. And there's a new term right now. It's gone from like direct to consumer or like business B2B, B2C. And then we do have a nice big segment of our business, which is B2B, contracted arrangements with different organizations. But this new term of B2Me. So like how I'm going to message you specifically, and then even perhaps say your best friend or your wife or your parent or your child, everyone gets a different message that's customized to them when they're ready. And we've known for so much time how much data we give up just on our phones, or where we might, choose to shop, or the different kinds of things we might read, whether it's news or, fiction or whatever, where we went to school. So those profiles are out there. And I think it's if we use them in ethical ways, then it's nothing but upside.
Absolutely. So this is, in AI terminology, which they call it the personalization. And I think, the ones who master how to use it are the ones who gonna win big. Unfortunately, I'm seeing a lot of, maybe you can tell me what you're seeing also, Corey, not related specifically to healthcare or mental health, but there's this debate about using AI tools in your go-to-market strategy. Now, we're seeing some people nailing it. They're getting it super right. And we're seeing these people who are like, just as we call it, like spray and pray, right? So like you just try to do anything with AI and just wait for the results. Who do you think, or what do you think the people who are succeeding with it are doing versus the people who are not getting any results?
Right. I think it's different depending on the industry or the product. Again, you're asked, more broadly outside of, or maybe including healthcare. So those that I see really, really nailing it are starting small, iterating fast, making sure that there's a human in the loop still, letting AI just go off and do its own thing with limited training can get some folks into some hot water. And it may take a little more effort and time to maybe fix something that AI might break and break significantly. Because if we're not careful, like we build these bots and they're just being a good bot, doing what the good bot does, as you told it to do, it may be creating mayhem, but it's like, I'm the best mayhem creating bot ever. And we just got to be careful. So those that are human in the loop, doing small things and iterating fast, and also pivoting, that allows them to pivot and shift and change as the technologies change. The models have new versions all the time. Different models now are accelerating with different things, or becoming better at different things. And I think it's also important. I see the organizations, especially even if they're like a mid-sized company, if they can designate someone as like their AI person, the AI czar, or like that's just your AI person, the AI enablement or operations person, that's when I see like organizations really, really thrive. Because then again, just like that behavioral healthcare talk we had earlier about normalizing things, normalizing the use of AI in organizations, but also building some guidelines and guardrails is really key. Your teams really want to use AI. They really are curious about it, but you also have to know how they're doing it so that they're not getting you into hot water just by being good old employees trying to, just trying to do their best.
Absolutely. Now, beside using AI for the go-to-market strategy and trying to reach within what utilize today at Mentavi, like, is there any use, like for example, for AI or any sort of automation, maybe to do kind of a faster diagnostics, or maybe helping whoever is responsible, keeping, as you said, the human in the loop. Are there any use cases have you seen, internally, if you can share, of course, any being used successfully also, which it led to better, let's say, patient satisfaction, let's call it this way. And this is kind of a customer success, where if someone is happy, they go and refer more other people. Anything you can share in that space?
Well, we've like internally here at Mentavi Health, we have been looking at a lot of different off-the-shelf products. We're of course tracking all of the regulations that are coming out, which are either general and vague or are very specific, and it changes from state to state here in the US. Even the interpretation of some of the language inside established laws, like and rules around like HIPAA, um, are not like so defined. So there's too much gray area all around here. So internally, we're not using AI to perform any diagnosis. We're not using AI to conduct any kind of therapy or coaching. Uh, and we have a AI governance committee that we stood up a while ago, and one of the first healthcare organizations that we know of that had done so. Our CEO, our chief medical officer, our chief compliance officer, they're in their communities talking with fellow colleagues, and this is what everyone's talking about. and we just need to make sure that whatever we do, we do it safely. And for healthcare specifically, and say for us, yeah, the humans that are the ones that to perform the care and surface a diagnosis is key.
Absolutely. So again, like, anything related to health specifically needs to be addressed with super care and regulations. By the way, HIPAA is known in the US, but other geographies, they have similar kind of regulations, but it stays the same. Like, privacy of patients is like, I think it's a global thing. Maybe it falls under different names. I can't memorize all of them, but HIPAA is the model, I think, that other regulators, they mention when they want to apply even in a local legislation. Um, Shifting a little bit gear and going back to what you do best, Corey. Um, from your experience, especially, it's a very kind of a cliche, let's call it this way, going from 0 to 1 or hyper growth. What do you think the most misunderstood growth lever in your view? Like, what usually you see people get wrong?
Uh, that's a good question. It's fun to have been around a lot of different organizations, and then of course the junkie that you and I are. We hear all the stories, we listen to the podcasts, we love the interviews, we read the books. Uh, I think one of the larger mistakes or most common, most consistent mistakes I see specifically like in growth is folks that um, they give up on success too quickly. And what I mean by that is they might find a tactic that works and they're like, yay, I found the tactic that works. And rather than put all the gas on the fire that fire deserves, they move on to the next thing. And
Mm,
maybe that's because we're of that growth mindset. And that maybe attracts a certain kind of person, which is like, all right, now something new, always something new, rather than, all right, this is working. Let's make it work the best it can, optimize it, grow it until we find that diminishing return, and then move on. Because then,
do you think, Corey, this is because because you mentioned books and so I've seen people, that they go like quote unquote too much religious about applying something they read in a book or listened to someone saying, probably the lean startup and about, pivoting. So do you think like they start to slash themselves? Hey, like we didn't get this metric that we think we should have it, so let's go and do something else instead of giving, a little bit the time that they need. Do you think that happens also?
absolutely, yeah. Because just because you tried it this one specific way doesn't mean that thing is wrong. You just might need to adjust, like you said earlier, maybe some messaging, or maybe it's the demographic or whatnot. Luckily, we have some AI that can help us do not just A/B testing, but A to Z testing now, right? And that's really cool. But yeah, it's funny how a lot of folks they have that shiny object syndrome, right? I read this in the book today, and then I read another book tomorrow that like says something opposite. So I'm just gonna maybe pump the brakes over here, and we only have so many resources at the end of the day. So we need to just feel a little smart about how we do that stuff, and track, a lot of tracking. A lot of folks I also see, especially early entrepreneurs, aren't so somehow they just don't like tracking stuff. So then you ask them like, well, why didn't that work? Well, I don't know. Or like, why did it work? Well, I'm not sure. So like, you can't like sometimes like I think some gut is important, right? Some like listening to our intuition is important. But it can't be the only thing, right? You have to have some sort of, I think also folks, they have a hard time setting goals, or like, even if I fail, what did I, let's do that autopsy. Like, what did I learn? Those some simple, and again, this is all back to basics kind of stuff. I don't know that we're inventing any kind of like new, like go to market strategy or D2C strategy. It's just more efficient or different, but the basics are the basics, right?
Basics are basics. But here I can add one thing, Corey, is I tell people you should always, especially when it comes to go to market, think in first principles always. Because, okay, you can, for example, if you are competing with a status quo, whatever that company is, and you know that they utilize this GTM strategy. So I've seen people who fall in this trap. Okay, let's apply this GTM strategy at our startup, and of course they are losing money, they're burning cash, and nothing happened. And usually what I tell people, okay, why you think you should go and copy someone else? Like, have you tried, your own way? Oh, this is the playbook that everyone talks about. I said, yeah, the playbook is a playbook. It's a play. So you need to try until you figure out like how you do it. So I think the problem is we fall in this trap. I used to fall in it, me included. I'm not saying like I'm better than anyone else, but of course, that's why I call the aging effect, which you have this wisdom and you start to like think slowly. And you say, okay, why are you just copying this playbook? Like, okay, you can get inspired by it. I'm not against get inspired by someone, but customize it, dude. Like, just do some small tweaks here and there, and then try. Yeah, but I think people like to take shortcuts. Like, this is my own theory.
Yeah, I like to call that low energy thinking. There's a lot of low energy thinkers out there that think it's oh, this is the quick way, or it worked for them, it's going to work for me too. And then the classic of, hey, did you talk to a customer? Have you done any research like that? Especially like I love like part of the projects that I do in my business 101 class is everyone comes up with an idea, right? A business case. work in a small team and they build a pitch deck and all that fun stuff. And I specifically have them go out and talk to people, which is so uncomfortable
Mhm.
for these kids. And invariably, at least 75% of the company or company ideas come back and they're like, well, yeah, no one wanted to buy it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's a great idea. Can you sell it? Is someone going to buy it?
Yeah. An idea is only good idea if someone need it, right?
Right. And it might
Yeah.
be like great today, but not the right one. And that might change, in 6 months or a year or 10 years. Who knows?
Absolutely. Now, talking about startups and talking about, good ideas, bad ideas, from your perspective, because, we talked about it like having these multiple hats. From your point of view, what do you think makes especially because now you're in this domain, a wellness startup or anything related to healthcare, let's put it this way, investable in 2025? Any must have, anything, any models, any specific trends you're bullish on?
Uh, well, I think now more than ever, like we just talked about first principles, like make money, make margin, be able to put money in the bank and pay your team, stay in the black. You mentioned earlier, just burning VC money, I, I'm finding a lot of folks getting some traction and some really good conversations with early stage investors uh, when they're thinking small in the short term, because a lot of these investors they're pretty savvy and they know that we're still in the early days on AI. Now, AI startups are sucking up a lot of the investment, but it's like AI that's helping with this, whether you're in space or whether you're in food or whatnot. It can't be all AI. A lot of the AI enablement stuff and optimization things, that's commoditized. That
Mhm.
stuff is going to be internalized, sooner than later. Like by having someone in the back, like, oh, that's Tom. He's our AI guy, and he's cross departmental, and he's helping everyone out. Um, so I think it's these companies that can focus on the business fundamentals, start something small, not that grand thinking, because I'm not seeing a lot of folks raise that cash just to experiment and play. Um, does that make sense?
Absolutely makes sense. Absolutely. Now, part of what I'm trying to do on the podcast, especially recently, I'm asking my guests something specific to their area, city, region, whatever you want to call it. Now, when we talk tech, especially about the US, the first thing that comes to mind is Silicon Valley, right? But I'm sure there must be some innovations coming out of the Midwest where you are based. Uh, why do you think people get this, I would say, prejudgment that innovations can only come from Silicon Valley? Or no, this is a truth. And Silicon Valley, where all the innovation comes, and other parts, and you can talk freely about the Midwest where you are currently, is still lacking, and it needs time. What you can tell the audience about that?
Well, yeah, you're right. There is that perception that it takes a metropolis or a certain kind of density, and I think that's early startup culture thing. Um, Folks were like, "Oh yeah, you need to have density, you have to have capital, and you have to have team, you have to have people, and you can't have an ecosystem if you don't have that." Um, like we're still stuck there in a lot of that thinking. Looking at the stats, and this is really great about having stats, decades in now, the Midwest is performing just fine. The valuations, this is some fairly recent data. So uh, early valuations, we see that the Midwest companies are doing similar tech, like better margins, with lower valuations than on the coasts, say the Bay Area, the New York, whatever. When you
Mhm.
get to like Series B and beyond, the valuations are the same. So what that means is that's better money spent in the Midwest in the long run. It's not just cost of living, that's a part of it, but we've got incredible talent here, incredible resources. There's also a reason why the big companies like Cisco and Microsoft and others are coming and spending billions of dollars on data centers in the Midwest. It's to support the innovation culture that we have here. Like Netscape, the company that gave birth to how we interact with the internet, is a Midwest company. Like, stop ragging on the Midwest so much. Like we helped invent the internet. Even out of Michigan alone, where I'm at, the amount of unicorns that we can credit, mostly coming out of, say, tech transfer or people that attended university in Michigan and then maybe left, is astounding. Our outdoor economy is as large as Colorado. We're the first state to have a chief growth officer in government, like in our economic development. And there's an organization that I work with called Midwest House. It's midwesthouse.org, and our whole job is to help address this misconception. And so we do a big road show and we go all over the Midwest to the different tech weeks. We go to South by Southwest in Austin. We want to go to the South by in London, and we evangelize for the Midwest. There's a lot of really great stuff going on here, and I'm happy to welcome anyone. I'll take you around. We can pop by Detroit, Chicago, Columbus, Cincinnati. We can go to St. Louis. A lot of good stuff around here. One good fact to know about Michigan is we have more coastline in Michigan than all of California.
Yeah, this is geographical fact.
So
No,
I'm just I'm here to help. Like what?
Yeah, no, this is good to know. By the way, the podcast opened my eye also about this, and this is why I start to become curious also to ask people, whoever are not from the two coasts, the east or west coast, to ask them about how the landscape is like. So I had guests from Chicago. I asked them like, how is it there in Chicago? I had guests from Colorado, by the way, which I visited once and I saw in my eyes, and everyone locally were telling me like how it's booming now and becoming like another, like one of the major tech hubs. People knows about Texas because it has like some traction from before. But yeah, like it's good because also some people, they want to have this kind of bridging between ecosystems. And I tell them like, yeah, US is a huge market, good market, but don't underestimate like the other areas, which is not New York or San Francisco.
You can
So
build
you can
anywhere.
have, so you can have opportunities, like whether you want to find promising startups or if you want even like kind to go and do go to market strategies in these areas. So 100%. Now, I know you were named the global chapter director of the year at Startup Grind. Um, how does it look to be in a community such Startup Grind, and how is the feeling of getting things also back as well, Corey?
Yeah, good question. So I'm so grateful to have found that community of Startup Grind, and it's over 5 million folks strong across the planet, and hundreds of chapters, hundreds of countries. It's amazing. That level of crowdsourcing, just intelligence and connection is still valuable. The one thing, like you just spoke about connectivity between ecosystems. There's no shortage of folks showing up for founders, entrepreneurs, and whatnot in my local community, in my state, in my region. But there are only so many resources for these folks, say like in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where I live. It doesn't take much to exhaust the entrepreneurship resources And maybe what I'm doing isn't really the best thing to be done in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'm able to, through my connection with Startup Grind, is easily connect founders and folks to other communities. Like maybe you should be talking to someone in a small town or not so small called Sialkot over in India if you want to like have a shoe manufacturer. You don't like just because a shoe manufacturer in Michigan told you to go eat rocks and kick dirt doesn't mean that your idea is terrible. Maybe it's just like another partner you need, maybe across the planet. I don't know. Um, I learned a lot from our Stockholm director, Nymel. He's fantastic. He started up a bunch of chapters outside of his city of Stockholm and really had a lot of success in growing the overall community, letting people start up wherever they were, right? You didn't have to take the train into Stockholm for a meeting. Support people where they're at. That's really cool. Our values at Startup Grind are they embody our ethos. It's like help others before you help yourself, give before you take. And I think one of the most important ones is make friends. Like stuff like what we're doing here. Like we're just two dudes showing up, just trying to help out. And it's really about giving first. And then at the end of your question, like it does come back to you. You just gotta, obviously be open to it. And we can't just be giving. There has to be some kind of balance too, right? But yeah, the global community is incredible, but it's rooted in the individual chapters, and that's where it all begins. And just being cool and showing up and helping where you can.
Absolutely. This is why I'm telling people also, talking about AI. This is the part at least which I'm sure in the foreseen future AI would not replace this human interaction. Us showing empathy to each others, trying to help each others. Yeah, AI can help us in many things, but these human things like the human touch, especially helping someone else who's in need, doing introductions, it's very fulfilling. And I think moving forward when we reach, I'm not sure if we're gonna see it or not in our life, but when we have this kind of singularity and we don't have to work in the sense of working every day, this is what we'll be doing. Like we will be just you know uh, compassionate, uh, I would say, people who tries to help each others to feel some fulfillment of their you know why they are humans in the first place. So I'm with you, Corey, on this, and I'm happy actually. Like you reach out to me, and who knows? It happened a lot of times. Someone appeared on my show, someone saw, they get connected. I did the intro
Mhm.
happily. And vice versa also, by the way. Like I saw something, I asked someone I know, can you introduce me? And also every time they told me, yeah, of course, with pleasure. And it was like a fantastic thing to do. And this is why this show exists. And this is why I say like it's only not only about the discussion itself, it's also about inspiring. It's about like how we can help, doing connections. So this is why the show exists. Corey, as we are close to an end, anything maybe I should have asked you about, or maybe something you want to mention that I did find a question for you to do so, you want to tell us, and where people can get in touch with you.
Sure. Folks can find me. LinkedIn is a great spot. It's Corey the Heart is my handle everywhere. It's also my website. So it's Corey Corey the The Heart Hart Corey the Heart. That's where I'm at. Find me. Happy to help in anything in any way that I possibly can. Uh, Introductions is really the way that I show up best because I'm pretty busy, here. So I don't have a lot of time to do any of the fractional stuff I used to really, really dig into. But it's just been really great to make your acquaintance. And I look forward to maybe even sharing a meal one day. Who knows, right?
Absolutely, with pleasure, Corey, and thank you for being here with me today. So for the folks, I gotta put the links in the show notes. If you're listening on your favorite podcasting app, or if you're watching this on YouTube, we'll find it in the description. Again, I can't thank you enough, Corey, for this discussion. I really enjoyed it. Um, it's eye-opening, I would say. We discussed multiple things. We focused in the first part mainly on what you do at Mentavi Health, and the go-to market, the marketing strategies, the also what startups in that domain they should be doing. And of course, we ended up with talking about the community and the giving back. So thank you very much for being here with me, Corey. And this is for the audience. This is how I usually end my podcast episodes. So if you just discovered us by luck, thank you for passing by. If you enjoyed, please give me a favor, subscribe and share it with your friends and colleagues. As I was mentioning, we're trying to do some impact. So the more we reach to more people, the better it is. And if you are one of the people who keeps coming back again and again, thank you for being loyal to the show. Thank you for your support. Thank you for all the messages you send me. Thank you for taking the show this year. I'm repeating after every episode, I know, but I need to thank my audience and my guests, including you, Corey, because without you, I couldn't have the podcast reaching the top 200 charts on the Apple Podcast in multiple countries at the same time. We reached like 7 countries simultaneously under the entrepreneurship category. So thank you very, very much. And as I say always, stay tuned for a new episode very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.